It is Thursday, April 23rd, 2020, and you are tuned into DIRTRACKR Daily. I'm Justin Fiedler. I've got another interview for you on the show today, but before we jump into that, let's cover off on a couple of news items for today. Tonight's USAC Thunder Relived guest Dave Peprack announced this week that after a 37-year hiatus, he's returning to USAC Silver Crown competition this season. He last competed in a Silver Crown event in 1983, but is an active participant right now on the local Indiana sprint car tracks. He also has a USAC sprint car win on his resume at Eldora Speedway. He plans to race in selected dirt races this season, including Eldora, Terre Haute, and the Dirt Miles. You can see his interview tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on Flow Racing. The USAC iRacing Challenge is back tonight on Flow Racing at 9 p.m. Eastern following USAC Thunder Relived. It looks like the original schedule was changed a little bit. This was actually supposed to be the last week on the original schedule, but another week has been added. Tonight we'll see the drivers take on Eldora Speedway in sprint cars, and next week they'll race Eldora in midgets. It's a similar entry list as we've seen in previous weeks for tonight's show, and the winner will take home $500. We'll recap the action on tomorrow's show. It was announced yesterday that DIRTRACKR is adding weekly esports competition to its schedule for the upcoming weeks. The races are open to anyone with a $20 entry fee. Events will rotate tracks and divisions and include street stocks, pro late models, and UMP modifieds. The races held on iRacing will be tournament style and include a $1,000 purse back through the field. You can find more details, the schedule, things like that at dirtcar.com/esports, and you can also sign up there if you'd like to participate. Okay, so today on the show, I've got Kevin Rumley of Longhorn Chassis and Bilstein Shocks. He was the crew chief and car owner for Jonathan Davenport when they won the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series Championship in 2015. His resume includes basically winning all of the biggest crown jewel dirt late model races there is. He's on today to kind of chat about the evolution of late model setups and how far the sport has kind of come in the last 10 or 15 years. I talk about it kind of early in the interview with him, but you know, if you've watched any of kind of the throwback shows here on some of the streaming platforms lately with the late models, you know, or if you've been a late model fan for any number of time or any number of years, you've seen how the cars have changed, you know, and changed quite dramatically here in the last 10 or 15 years or so, and just, you know, the way they drive and the way they, you know, the way they look and things like that on the racetrack. So kind of want to get an idea of what's different and when they started learning things. So here is my conversation with Kevin Rumley. Joining us on the phone now is Kevin Rumley. Kevin is, now let me make sure I get this right because your resume is fairly sizable, but championship winning crew chief and team owner, and you're a motorsports engineer for both Bilstein Shocks and for Longhorn Chassis. Did I leave anything out right there?
No, sir. That sums it up.
So give me a little bit idea, just kind of right off the top of your background. I know you and your dad have been involved in racing for a long time, but you know, you're an engineer. You know, give me an idea kind of where you went to school and kind of what brought you into motorsports.
Yeah, well, my father has fielded cars since, I believe, 1955, and was very successful, which I grew up in the race shop. So it was naturally I wanted to get an education that would allow me to be a better racer. So I chose to go in UNC Charlotte. Got my engineering degree with a concentration in motorsports. That led to greater things as far as the racing. It really helped. Really helped me find answers. Exposed me to a lot of smart people. And of course, I was like a sponge.
And kind of looking at your current jobs between Bilstein and Longhorn, you know, give me an idea kind of what you do for those two places on a daily basis.
Yeah, so I'm a contract engineer for both of the companies, and Longhorn is a strategic customer of Bilstein, and Tim McCready is the house car driver for both Bilstein and Longhorn Chassis. So everything works together good. I have an R&D shop in Lexington, North Carolina at D&E Marine, and I'm able to take the cars down there, do some pull-down work, shock dynos, spring smashers, alignment tools, anything that I may want to do development on race cars. Plus, we have chassis sims, CAD packages, and simulation packages for everything. So everything works together really well.
kind of since we're off right now from racing, while we kind of wait to get started again, we've been watching, a lot of older races and things like that. And the different kind of streaming platforms have been showing a lot of different things. And one of the things that really stands out to me is just how different the attitude of the race cars, was 10 or 15 years ago versus kind of where we are now. Do you have kind of an idea in your head or thought in your head about kind of when that started to change and maybe why it started to change?
Well, yes, everything changed the first time that we actually measured what was going on and put data on a car. We could see inherent problems with what was going on with dirt late models at the time. There was no rules against running data acquisition, so we ran it quite frequently. Ran it in a lot of races. We didn't really know what we were looking at yet, but we just recorded, and eventually we figured out the trends, where we needed to go, where we were at then. Then we could go develop a strategy, then go back and measure the results with the on-track testing with data. So everything tested changed the first time we put data on a car.
And how quickly before, a couple of guys maybe start putting data on the car, how quickly then does everybody kind of jump in on that and saying like, well, those couple of guys are doing it now, we probably need to do it too?
Yeah, well, at the time, we kind of flew under the radar because with my father's team, we raced part-time with Steve Shaver at the time, and we would race about 20, 25 races a year, and we would compete, very competitive, but we kind of flew under the radar, and there was no rules against it, and it worked out really good. We continued when Jonathan Davenport started driving for us, and we started to develop these Longhorn chassis further. We tested and practiced a lot in race conditions with the data, and then everybody started to catch on to what we were doing and made it illegal for everyone. So they made it illegal when we had all the data, so it worked out very well for us.
Just so kind of give people an idea what I'm talking about. 10 or 15 years ago, the cars were kind of much flatter around the racetrack. Noses way up in the air, and now when you watch a car go around, the noses are almost pinned to the ground, the tails are way up in the air. You kind of got that left rear droop. Is the kind of movement that way? Is that more about mechanical grip? Is that more about aero grip, or is it some combination of both?
Well, there was a big change too when the first group to put a car in the wind tunnel, put a dirt late model in the wind tunnels, and understand how much side force and how much down force we actually could achieve with the bodies as large as they have become. That changed the game also. Like 15 years ago, before we had that knowledge, we developed our own laws of physics for dirt cars. So, in any vehicle in the world, if you soften the right front spring, it would make the car looser. But in a dirt late model 10 or 15 years ago, everyone started softening the right front springs, which should make the mechanical grip a lot looser. But what it did do was increase the side force by hundreds of pounds and the down force by hundreds of pounds. So it gave it grip. But not knowing how much we were gaining body-wise and aero-wise, everyone kind of developed their own laws of physics for these cars, but they, in actuality, work just like any other vehicle you drive down the road or handling or F1 car. So it was quite interesting finding the truth. There was big gains once some of the bump stop technology and shock technology started to trickle down from the Cup Series. We had solutions to our problems. Things started to change. But now the trend is getting your aero platform, getting your body in position, and having mechanical grip as well. And that's the challenge. And that's the last few years. That's what we've achieved to gain speed.
I'm curious too about, one of the things that you kind of notice about a dirt late model is just how much movement there is in the rear end of the car, and when you go off in the corner and things like that, and this kind of droop rule that the World of Outlaws have come out with this year, that seems to kind of be a hot topic. But give me an idea about what that kind of means, for the grip. I saw somewhere that, if the track's a little heavier, maybe less droop is a little more, in line with what you want. And then if it, once it goes slick, then you want a little more droop. But, is that just movement in the rear end just straight for, kind of drive off through the corner and down the straightaways?
Yeah, well, it's not a droop rule. We actually add more droop with the current rules in world late models. It's really a deck height rule with a lot of variables. So it's going to be interesting how that plays out, how they police that and can measure it accurately. But basically, we just get the same droop. So we all had to lower our decks maybe a couple inches, but we'll be back to where we were within no time. So just like with any rule. There was a time where I got upset with the rules, but now I realize that any change is to the benefit or of teams with more resources. So, like I said, give us a few months and we'll be exactly back to where we were, deck height wise and droop wise.
As you kind of go to different racetracks, I'm kind of curious, you talked a little bit about, kind of some of the aerodynamics and stuff there, but are you making changes to the bodies, when you go to different racetracks? Or, if you're at a more high-speed track, are you making, maybe spoiler changes or things like that? And then, is it maybe not as important when you're at a small track, or are you just trying to get as much as you can everywhere?
We try to get as much as we can everywhere. Now, then there might be times where a track is really, really fast and really tight in, and we might take a little bit of rear downforce away from the right rear. But I mean, we're so our engines are so powerful now that we can slip the tires about whenever we want to. So we want maximum downforce everywhere.
Kind of along with that, when guys are making contact on the racetrack, or you've kind of got that right rear quarter leaned up against the fence, how much does that hurt you through the course of a race? Do you try to tell your drivers, hey, maybe don't do that?
Well, the right rear quarter panel is like so you have the door area is the main driver for side force. So the right rear quarter panel is a little bit of a driver, but not as much as the door area and the left area that rises up in body roll.
And as you guys kind of move forward, I'll kind of let you go on this, but I'm kind of curious about some of the tools that you use, and being an engineer, how much do you rely on just what you can kind of get off the race car and the feedback from the driver, and then how much do you rely on maybe like CAD software and some different things like that, where you can actually maybe get some more data, and maybe get some kind of more numbers out of things?
Yeah, well, so in race conditions, your driver is the only feedback you have, and you have some visual feedbacks as well, trying to get the body posture right. We use a lot of kinematic studies with CAD, and we kind of get directions to go, but there's nothing replaces hard work, testing, and good chemistry and communication.
That was my conversation with Kevin Rumley. Hope everybody learned a little something there. I know I certainly did, and appreciate him taking some time out of his busy day to come on the show and talk to us about late model setups and things like that. So that's the show for today. Hope everybody has a good Thursday. You can find DIRTRACKR Daily on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or where you get podcasts. Please subscribe, leave me a review, and tell your friends. You can also watch the show on YouTube and Facebook. You can email the show at info@dirtracker.com, and you can follow along at facebook.com/dirttracker, twitter.com/dirttracker, and the website dirttracker.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Justin_Fiedler. Don't forget to sign up for the Dirt Tracker weekly newsletter. That is live on the site right now. Hope everybody has a good day. We will see you tomorrow on DIRTRACKR Daily.